Greetings. This is Coyote Heron, and I'd like to share a few thoughts about listening. I was thinking, I want to talk about listening, and that sounds like an oxymoron because it is. It's kind of funny. There's an art to listening. Listening is not just hearing. There's a quieting of our inner selves and engaging in the information, words, or sounds that are coming in. Several years ago, I recall this story about this teacher who was in a class giving a lecture, and there's this person in the back saying, and the teacher says, put your hand down. When your hand is up, you're not listening. I was thinking, that's interesting because when the hand is up inside the brain, they're thinking, I have to say something, I have to say something. And all the while missing what is being shared by the lecturer. I also recall several years ago, I was out at a primitive camp. I was just standing there and just kind of quietly observing things. And I saw this little mouse come out from a piece of bark. It was sitting there chewing on something, and I was watching it. And then I had a thought about that mouse. And the instant I had a thought about the mouse, I don't recall moving or doing anything particular. But when I had that thought, that mouse looked in my direction and bolted back under the birch bark. And then there was another person at that camp who was out walking, and he saw this squirrel sitting on a branch of a tree nearby, really close, and he just saw it, and then he thought, hello, and as soon as he had that thought, hello, the squirrel just scampered up the tree as fast as it could go. I don't know what signals get sent out when we're not listening or when we're engaging in internal dialogue. But the wild creatures, they know about that. They have to. The mice, the rabbits, the deer, they are eaten by other animals, the wolves and the owls and the hawks and the foxes. They like a little snack of mouse or rabbit now and then. And so if you've ever seen these wild creatures out with their big ears, and their ears are doing this, they're going about their life, but they're listening. So it's a very important skill to have. A lot of times when people are talking, there's a lot of over talking, and there's a lot of ego going on, and everybody's going, I want to say something, I want to say something. And so there's a lot of talking, but not a lot of listening. This listening requires a silent space, and many people are scared of silence in a conversation. It's frightening, and it's not, or it shouldn't be. But if you've been in a conversation like that, you notice that when it gets quiet like that, someone's going to stop the quiet and say a variety of things. And so when one person is talking and you're actively listening to them, that doesn't always mean that you're going to be totally silent. You can interject questions and ask for clarification, which lets them know that you're really engaging with what they have to say and you want to know more. And so you can talk while listening, but when you keep ego and yourself subdued and honoring the other person, it's amazing what can develop. It's been said that when the mouth is working, you're not learning. Learning happens when you're silent. It's when the mouth is working, information is coming out, but when you're silent and listening, information is coming in, and that's where you learn the various lessons. And when people know that you're listening to them, they can be more engaging. I've had so many people talk to me, and there was one time I was at a VFW lounge and just sitting there chatting with somebody and saying little tidbits about our military past. And he just started talking, and I guess I made him feel comfortable where he was able just to share personal things, and he almost went to tears at one point. And at the end of it, he said, "That was the best conversation I've ever had." I hardly said a thing. And I find that that happens quite often. I'll be with somebody and engage conversation with them, and I don't know what it is, but so many people feel comfortable to just spill the beans or just share their life story or just say things that you wouldn't normally say to just somebody sitting at a bar or at a lounge space or at a store at a checkout counter, which happened the other day. I was talking to somebody, and then somebody shared that he was widowed 6 months earlier. I thought, and I just was able to honor that and give him some encouragement. That's where listening comes in, and because sometimes little tidbits just show up, and you can point that out or encourage the person to expound on various things, not to pry or be tell me more, this is juicy, but just allow them to vocalize or process what they need to process by listening to them. And there's other listenings. There was this one time I was out in the wilderness doing a particular ceremony that starts at sunset, and it went on for quite some time, and so it was rather dark when I finished, and I'm standing there, put my stuff away, and I'm thinking, that was good. And all of a sudden the back of my neck all prickled, and I turned and looked in a certain direction. I didn't see anything, but I felt something. I don't know what was over there, but I just knew that gut feeling that time to get out of here. So I listened to that feeling and got in my vehicle and drove off. Came back the next day to that same spot and kind of lined up where I was standing and which direction I looked when I had that feeling. I went over about 50 to 60 feet and found a cat track the size of the palm of my hand. It was about that big. It was maybe that big. And the way the paw print was positioned, this cat was looking at me, and that's what I felt. And I thought, time to go. And so there's incidents like that where you can just hear, and not just hear, but listen and acknowledge various things. It takes practice, so enjoy the journey. Turn down the chatter box in there and turn up the ears and take that ego part of yourself and set it aside and listen. And it's amazing what you will hear. You can hear these quiet little voices that come from everywhere. It's an amazing journey. Enjoy the trip. And I think that will be all for this time around. Thank you very much.